Okay, hello. Welcome to Otis Frampton Live again. Gonna be doing some comic work. Let me make sure that all the audio is correct and all that good stuff. All right, looks like it's all good. So today, this afternoon, for the next hour, I'll be working on coloring another page of Patchwork Girl of Oz. Let me just get my chat rooms so that I can see them. There we go. All right, looking good. Okay, I'm just going to dive in here. So we're going to be coloring this for about 45 minutes, and then for 15 minutes leading up to the hour, I'll be doing my... Oh, I should have said this is another episode of Makin and Talkin comics. So the last part of the show will be me talking about another comic that I love, and I got a good one today. So stick around. All right. So for this page, I have not finished flatting the Patchwork Girl. And I know that this is not the most exciting thing to watch, but hopefully I'll be able to quickly finish the flats on this, on her. And then, oops, where should I go? Go with this. And then we'll get to working on finishing this first panel. This is the moment where in the story where Ojo sees sees the Patchwork Girl for the first time, and he's very impressed with her colors. A very cool colored lady, multicolored lady, I should say. She's a great character, the Patchwork Girl. Let's see, through purple. Hold on one second. Let me finish this up here. Green. My sort of theory behind how I'm going to flat the Patchwork Girl. Whoa. I said it's weird. I said theory, and the lady in my iPad thought I was talking to her. I'm not talking to you, lady. So I decided when I first started doing Patchwork Girl of Oz, I had to think how I was going to handle, the patchwork aspect of her. And I kind of had two choices. One, I could find create an exact pattern and use that to keep her on model for every panel, or I could just, do it different every time and, hope people don't notice. And when I was thinking about how to do that, or which option to choose, I decided to go back to the original book and look at the original illustrations to see how that artist handled things. And it turns out that artist, the original artist in the book, took the approach that was like, he didn't keep things consistent at all. Nothing was consistent. It's pretty funny when you go and look at it. Nothing's consistent. I kind of split the things down the middle in terms of how I was going to approach it. So I decided that I wouldn't create a pattern for everything except for the face, because the face is where is going to be shown a lot. So I decided on a very specific pattern of patches and colors for the face. Oh, speaking of which, I gotta find. Hold on one second. Let me. Oh wait, did I have a reference in there already? I think I did. Yeah, I already have it. I need a little bit more reference in there. So I would establish. Yeah, I need a little bit more. Let me grab another page. Establishing a pattern for the face. Sorry, I'm trying to think about what to do here. And then also her elbows would always have like red circles on them. And then the rest would just be, I just kind of wing it. Oh, the face and the neck portion here, that would always be the same. So that way, at least the part that people mostly looked at would always be the same or similar. And because of that, I decided that despite the fact that I brought on another colorist to work with me on this book, on issue 3 forward. I guess I don't need to do that right now because I'm working on this panel. I would always flat the patchwork girl because I didn't want to pass that off to her, because it's one of the things that you got to sort of take into stride and just go with when you're doing the Patchwork Girl of Oz comic, that you're going to be drawing this character who's got so many details that it can be overwhelming at times. All right, let's get moving here. Let's do something real quick. So I told Tracy the colors that I'm working with on the book. I'll flat the Patchwork Girl. Don't worry, I'm not going to subject you to that torture. And hopefully she appreciates that, because it can be frustrating at times. It's one of those extra levels of detail that you just got to accept. So, all right, let's start coloring or shading this character, I should say. I think I'm gonna throw something I call overshade. It's sort of an extra level of shade. Whoops. Should put that down just to make her look a little darker than Ojo. She's in a closet. Not sure I like that. Turn that off and let's just do this instead. That's all better. She's got some lighter in her. I don't want to take that away from her. The lighting on him is going to be a bit of a cheat because the light source is, well, no, it's sort of in front of him too. Yeah, that's not too bad. We can make it work. This page is also, oops, it's an example of, when you're adapting something from existing source material. This is the first time I've ever done that. I've ever adapted something like this. You gotta, oops. Sometimes changes, be they subtractions, additions, or just outright modifications, need to happen when you're adapting something from one medium to another. Medium of comics is it's a visual medium, and I'm adapting something from a written word medium, and sometimes things need to change because of that. I'm endeavoring to adapt it as faithfully as I can because I love the book. I love the Oz series, and I don't want to be, the kind of creator who is looked at as just creating or just making changes for the sake of changes. Everything. Oops. Let's fix this. Everything that I'm changing. Actually, let's just do that. I don't know what I'm doing. Every change I'm making is made in good faith for what I think is for the best for the adaptation. So there's one change that I'm still debating. It's a big one. The elimination of one sort of minor character that shows up a few times and really does nothing to add to the story, and it would greatly help things if I could just get rid of the character, and also certain things that certain purposes the character serves are accomplished by another character, and I'd rather have that happen with that other character who is much more prominent in the story. Anyway, it's a difficult decision. I haven't made it yet. I haven't had to work on anything that got to that point. So, and I don't want Oz fans coming for me. You know what I mean? I'm an Oz fan myself, and I think I would understand it if this change had to be made, but I haven't decided yet. Anyway, what I was going to say was this moment here, it exists in the book where, Ojo sees the petrichor for the first time, but I extended it and added, just one word. I wanted a real moment where he saw her and it made an impression. So I gave him a little wow, because later on he's going to do something that I wanted the audience to understand, in sort of a character-based visual way that wasn't explained via text. And so I did that little thing, and hopefully it's okay hopefully the changes I make are going to be okay with Oz fans. I'm sure some of them will get upset with me, but I got to do what I got to do. In the end, my name is going to be on this. and I have to live with the decisions that I've made in adapting things. So that's where that's how I'm approaching that. Oh, I wanted to do something real quick here. Where is it? My color reference. I wanted to color the the little threads. When I get really close, you gotta account for that and do it more detailed. Won't be close enough to see the detail in the threads like this in every page. Like even the next panel, I didn't do them this prominently, but now I gotta color them. I forgot that. Whoops. Lots of details. Can I get all of them there? There's one change that I made that's, in the scheme of things, I think it's for the best. But there's a group of characters. There's some really cool groups of characters that are new to this Oz book later on in the book. But one of them has been sort of deemed a little problematic by some people, and it's sort of a case of looking at the book through modern eyes, and it's just their name and sort of what they were based on. So I've chosen to just alter their names slightly. And actually, I can show you who that is. For anybody who knows the book, where is it? Where are you guys? There are these guys. You'll probably recognize who these guys are from later on in the book. These guys are now called the Copper Tops. That's just one of the things I've decided to do. They're called the Copper Tops. So it's that's how that's going to work out. And it's a little change, but I think that it's important to do just to avoid any hint of controversy. Not that there will be, but I just don't want that. It's a story for children. And if I could keep people from bringing their own, real world peccadillos into it, I'd do that, but I can't. We live in a world now where that's just not the way things work. So I'm making a slight change to accommodate that. I think ultimately Oz fans will understand that. I know I would. It's not that big a deal. And I gave them sort of shocking red hair, made them gingers. So calling them Copper Tops instead of what do they call them? Hottentots or something like that. I forget the real. I'm so used to thinking of it as Copper Tops now. I forget what the real name is, but it's close enough that it shouldn't bug anybody. But like I said, I'm going to do my best to adapt the story to its fullest and in the best way that I can in a visual medium. One of the choices I made starting out was that I wasn't going to have any sort of narration text boxes. In the past, adaptations of Oz books into the comic format has kept that and basically used Baum's words to help the story along. I decided that I wasn't going to do that because it felt like cheating to me. Like if I couldn't figure out a way to tell the story visually on my own, without that sort of crutch. I felt like it was. Oh, come on, what's going on here? Oh, there we go. It felt like the easy way of doing things, and that's not a criticism of the other books. That have comics that have come out that have been adaptations. I love them. I have them. I own many of them, including the full run of the Marvel Oz series, like Eric Shanauer and Scotty Young. It's just not. I wanted to set myself apart and also take on the challenge. It's like, it's not easy to do certain things. I had to shift things sometimes to accommodate that choice. But it's got to be a comic. It's got to be a comic first. If it's just a sort of rote adaptation of the book, no pun intended, I don't really see a point in doing an adaptation. It needs to feel like there's a reason for it to be a comic, in my opinion. And since I'm adapting it, that's the opinion that's gonna fly. But again, it's a comic, so if it's not told visually as much as it can be, feel like you're not really doing your job as a comic creator. I guess in some ways this is me throwing down the gauntlet, saying, "Yeah, if you don't like any of the changes I make, come at me, because I'm a fan too, and I'm putting a lot of work into it." Okay. Now I gotta go back. There's some stuff that I'm going to put in the background there, but we can move on from that. Let's do some fixes on the Patchwork Girl's head here. Just a hint of lines. Whoops, that was weird. There we go. Oops. Looks like I'm gonna have to do some more flatting here. Let's turn off the background so I can see it against white. A little more helpful. All right. Oops. See, I already. Nobody would ever notice if I got the exact pattern wrong. Nobody would notice. I would know, though. I would know, and it would bug me forever. It's kind of lame, isn't it? But yeah, nobody would notice. The way people read comics, details like that, they just fly by. There's a huge mistake in, and I've talked about this before. There's a huge mistake in book 4 about the normal. Is that red? Did I choose? No, it's brown. Oh, it's not going to work. Oh, yeah, it is, because I changed that. I changed her. Her ears are going to be red now. There's a big mistake in one panel in book 4 of Oddly Normal that no one's ever called me out on. And I mean, it's a big mistake. It's funny I left it in to subsequent printings. Hoping that somebody finally like writes to me and says, "Oh, I noticed that this is that way, and why is it that way? And are you stupid?" And then I'll come up with like my own version of the No Prize. You know, the Marvel. You ever heard of the Marvel No Prize? Well, if you haven't, look it up. It was something that I think Stan Lee created it, came up with it, and basically, oops. What it was he, at any time a reader, and this started in the 60s, anytime a reader noticed a mistake in a comic and called it out on the letters page, let me fix this, they would address it in the letters page, oops, and they would send the reader what they called a no prize, and it was basically an empty envelope, or an envelope that just said you are the winner of a no prize, so you get no prize. And I love that. That's so funny to me. I think that would be so cool to get a no prize. But I would come up with my own version of the no prize if somebody ever called me out on a mistake like that. Purple. Don't know why I'm working so hard to get this right, but I really want it to be right. If you're in the chat room, please say hello. I'd love to hear from you. I monitor the chat while I work. So if you have any comments or questions, I'm here for you. Unless you got like a rude comment, then I'm not here for you. I'm somewhere else, and you're probably not going to hear from me. Man, it's really warm in my office. I said it before in my stream that I usually also don't do flatting on my comics. My wife is my flatter, but just like I told the colorist I'm working with, I wouldn't make her flat the Patchwork Girl. I'm not making my wife flat the Patchwork Girl either. That would just be mean. Let's see. And when I'm flatting her, except for the face, like I said, the face and the neck and her elbows, her elbow patches. My theory is basically just add this sequence, add these colors that I've chosen, and try not to make sure that they're never doubled up. So they're all, there's never a case where purple is against purple or red is against red. Just keep it random and colorful. And in that vein, here we go. Here goes the random and colorful. Now I'm just deciding where to put them. Oh, hello, the Rational Texan in the Rumble chat room. How are you doing today? But yeah, so like I said, the original artist on the original Bomb book, none of the patches are make any sort of logical sense. It's all sort of random. And it's really funny when you really notice it and start looking. So I don't think anybody will ding me for what I'm doing. Let's get it right in there. But yeah, it can be tedious coloring the Patchwork Girl. Oh, come on. Just disappeared on me. And I'm sorry for spending time doing this, but it's got to be done. What time is it? 3:30. Yeah, maybe I should switch gears and do some lighting on this character, even though she's not fully colored. She's such a great character. It's one of the, I wrote about this in my newsletter, my Substack newsletters. And if you want to check that out, please do. I think there's a link to it in the notes for the videos. I'm not sure. Should be. If there's not, what's wrong with me? But one of the many reasons I chose Patchwork Girl to adapt is because no one else had done it before, to my knowledge. I looked and I didn't see any adaptations like in Amazon or anything. Here, you know what I'll do? I will switch shade to a little shady. The Marvel series stopped at book 6. Patchwork Girl's book 7. So and it's one of probably, if not my second favorite third favorite after the first one, and then the Marvel's Land of Oz. It's my favorite of the series. It was one of Baum's favorites too. But it's got this great cast of characters. It features new main characters, specifically Ojo, the boy in this page here. Ojo the Unlucky, a little munchkin boy who has to go on a quest. That's another reason it's a quest story. It's not just randomly wandering around the Land of Oz like some of the books are. It's not a complaint, but they tended to be that way sometimes. And the quest is for character / emotional reason. He wants to save his uncle, and so it's a really good story. In the same way that Dorothy wants to get home, Ojo wants to save his uncle and feels responsible for the terrible thing that happens to him in the book. But the book has characters like Patchwork Girl, which is great. So it's a fun book to adapt and take on from a visual standpoint. And also, at certain points, lots of familiar characters show up. So that's fun too. I get to draw those characters because eventually they get to the Emerald City, which is neat. Rational Texan says, just back Battleback Road 2. Now look at that poster you made for Eric Weathers. Oh, thanks. Yeah, I love Oz. So I threw out an offer to do a pinup for him. I didn't think it would be a poster. I really didn't. So, but that's cool. That's not. I'm fine with it being a poster. It's just I did not expect that. So that's kind of extra neat. It's funny. Let me show you something real quick. Where is it? I think it's here. So I guess I already put it. Oh no, I must have put it in my finish folder. Did I? There it is. This is what I'm referring to. This is a pinup I did for Battlebick Road, Battlebick Road 2. It's sort of a a modern gritty take on the Oz franchise, but I had to give it my cartoony spin into the characters. It's a lot of fun to draw. But what I was going to say was, get back to my other folder. My first attempt here was horizontal, and it just, I don't know, it was a cute idea, but it wasn't really exciting to me. But I kept it just in case I ever want to like finish it someday, because I do kind of like it in some ways. So maybe I'll finish it someday and give it to Eric. Where was I? Back to Oz. Oh, thanks. Appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, and that's sometimes it happens. It's like uh, I was fully prepared to finish that one, but I wasn't feeling it fully, and I thought, if he's going to use this for his book, I didn't want to I don't know. I didn't want to go the easy route. It seemed like an easy one to do, as opposed to the one I ended up doing, which had much more complex. It had a little action, better composition. Let's get that. I wonder if I've ever even shown Eric that first version. I don't know that I have. He might see it and be like, "Why didn't you give me that one?" I actually don't know. All I know is I wanted to do something a little more dynamic. I guess that was my reason for switching it up. Sometimes you just make things harder on yourself because it's the better way of doing things. Case in point, one of the things that whatever. One of the things that I'm doing for this book, this series is, I think it's for issue 3. Yeah, it's issue 3. I'm going to try, if I can't get it to work, I'll just do it the wrong way. But I'm going to try to do a paint the cover in a VR app, a VR painting app. I think that'll be a lot of fun to try. It's a very simple cover, so I'm not going to be going out on a limb too much. But we'll see how it works. And by, I don't know, hopefully everyone knows what I'm talking about when I say VR. You put on VR goggles, you're working in a 3D space, and it's here. Let me show you something real quick. I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. Where's my VR folder? Where are you? There it is. So this is actually a screenshot of the setup that you work in. You sit right there, and it's all in 3D all around you. And you got the canvas, and you got the paint set, and it's a really cool program. I'm looking forward to trying it out. Back to work. And if it doesn't work, because I'm not really a painter, it's also going to be a test of to see if what am I doing? If I can actually paint. I don't know if I can. I mean, it's still digital painting, but I've done that, but the setup is and the tools are so sort of realistic that it feels like you're painting with real paints. And I don't know if I can do that. I'll be honest. And it's going to be it'll be a fun experiment. It's one of those things that, again, I'm going to make it harder on myself, but who knows? It might be like, I've never heard of anybody doing that. It's another reason why I wanted to do it. I'm like, I've never heard of anybody doing a comic cover in VR. So, you know what? I'm going to look at something real quick. I think I'm shading this wrong based on, no, that's fine. I look at my old page. Rational Texan says, I backed Battle Brick Road 2 because of cover by Kelsey Shannon. That's a good deal. Yeah, I love his work. Kelsey, I've been following him since like the early 2000s. Great artist. This is another example of a change that I made for the book. In the book, she has, she's got buttons sewn in for eyes. And as you can see, she definitely has buttons sewn in for eyes. But once she's brought to life via the powder life, I gave her sort of more naturalistic eyes, which just it looked better in my opinion, and I think works better to get across the idea that she's alive. It's a small change, but I frankly found it to be a little creepy to see her with just the button eyes, throughout the entire thing. I want her to be a little more expressive than that. And if she's brought to life, she would have a little life. And I'm actually going to sort of show. That's going to be one of the indicators that she is coming to life. Is I'm going to show her transition from the button eyes to more lifelike eyes. So, to all the Oz fans out there, don't hate me. It's all being done for the good of the story. I promise. I'm getting to a point where I'm going to be shading over areas that don't have color. But actually, what time is? Oh, it's 3:43. Well, this actually works out pretty well because I can just stop here and do the next part of the show, which, if you've seen the last few streams, I'm doing something called Makin and Talkin Comics, where I make comics for a little bit, and then for about 15 minutes towards the end of the show, I talk about comics. I show a comic that I love. So this is as far as I got here. Still have some work to do, obviously, but it's looking okay. So let me just put this away real quick. And let me bring in today's comic. Let's get some different light going on here. Today's comic, obviously, is Bone by Jeff Smith. This is the first issue I ever read of Bone, and it's one of my favorite single issues of all time, Bone number 16. I remember when I was working I was a waiter at a Perkins for many years in the 90s, and somebody who worked there who was, I think, a bus boy. He was also a comic fan, and he knew I was too, and he brought this in. And I'd never heard of it, had no interest in it, but he said, no, just check it out. So I did, and I fell in love immediately. With this comic. It's just so good. Just so good. It's really yellow. Sorry about that. I just fixed the... Yeah, that's better. Sorry, temperature's really warm on the video there. So I don't have... I used to have a full run of the single issues. I don't anymore. I gave them to the daughter of a friend. But I still have a few, including this one, my favorite single issue of the series, and one of my favorite single issues of all time. I do have this beast, the Bone 1 volume, the big, thick, full series. It's so heavy, but it's beautiful. If you ever had a chance to get it, highly recommend it. It's the Bone 1 volume. It's really great, really great. And I also have the entire series on digital and Comixology, so I can check out the series wherever I go. Anyway, so this issue, it's issue 16, and I didn't know the characters, I didn't know anything about the plot or anything, but in some ways, this was like the best issue that I could have possibly read to get into the comic, because it's kind of like this, it's not a chase scene per se, but it's this scene where Bone, Grandma Ben, and Thorn, that's her name, Thorn? Well, I'm blanking, what's wrong with me? Are sneaking through the dark woods during a rainstorm, trying to evade the rat creatures. And it's full of these beautiful panels like here where they're seeing in the darkness and you can kind of almost see certain things, but not quite. Where's my favorite one? Here. These pages right here feature just some of my favorite drawings in the entire series, even though they're very simple. But not just that, but some of my favorite visual storytelling in the whole series. I love going from this panel here where they're hiding behind a tree, it's totally dark, and then you hear the the lightning happen, and all of a sudden the world is illuminated, and Bone realizes that they're surrounded by the rat creatures. And then of course it goes back to darkness. It's so beautiful. Same thing here, and you go close on Bone, the lightning strikes, it's right there. It's dark, he thinks he's about to be attacked. Not quite. Again, another lightning flash revealing that the dragon has chased off the bone creatures. And then of course, once again, lightning revealing. It's a masterclass, this issue, in visual storytelling, in comic storytelling. It's really, really beautiful. Really beautiful. Part of me wishes that I'd taken more, like, Jeff Smith's art was a big influence on me. In the 90s when I was getting back into drawing. Jeff Smith, Bruce Timm, from Batman the Animated Series fame, were two artists that, if you had to boil down my work, I think, to a certain artist, it would be those two, and more recently Scotty Young probably. But certainly Jeff Smith was a huge influence, and I at first thought I was going to be doing black and white indie comics like him, and I really studied these pages. I don't spot blacks the way that he does, with this, because I'm not working in black and white. He uses black almost as a color, because of the nature of how this was published and in what format. I know there's a color version, but I don't own any of the color versions. I'm so in love with the black and white version of this comic. The color versions, they just don't work for me. But I spent many hours studying the visual storytelling of Jeff Smith, and I really appreciate the real simple way he tells stories. It's not a lot of flashy comic book stuff. It's just good moment to moment, storytelling. Really great stuff. Really beautiful. Look at the way he indicates the rocks here with just sort of arcs. Really great stuff. And do action really well too. Grandma Ben. This is actually my favorite. This is my favorite single issue, but my favorite storyline in the entire series is the Great Cow Race, which is, a few issues. I think it's before this, I think, right? The Great Cow Race. But man, the Great Cow Race is, if you want to study great action, there's lots of superhero titles you can look at, or you look at the Great Cow Race by Jeff Smith. The race scenes in that book, they're just perfectly illustrated. Really great stuff. I also love that Jeff Smith's able to convey an attitude with the character's back. She's not even moving, and there's so much character going on. You can barely see her face. And then from this panel to this panel, look at that. She just lowers her head a bit and her arm a bit, and you feel it. She'd been holding all that tension in, and then the next panel she almost collapses. Really beautiful storytelling. Nothing flashy, just moment to moment, just knowing where to put the virtual camera, knowing where to put the sound effect, knowing that this long panel works because the eye goes here and sees the dragon's gone, and then sort of moves here. It's almost like the eye becomes the camera panning across the page. I just can't say enough good things about Jeff Smith and Bone. Anything else in here? No, just merchandise stuff. Yep, great stuff. Issue 16 of Bone. Issue 16 of Bone. One of my favorite single issues of all time. I think many times on Twitter, and people have asked, name 4 comics that influenced you greatly. This one is included almost always, I think. Really great stuff. All right. Well, I think that's all for Makin and Talkin comics for today. I'm really enjoying doing these segments because it's forcing me to look at comics. I haven't looked at this in a while. I'll be honest. And it's just so great to pull the actual issue out and see it like this. Really great stuff. Really great stuff. So I'm going to keep doing it because it's kind of fueling and making me rediscover my love of the medium. And every time I've done it, I've kind of stopped the show. I've walked away from the show feeling good, which is also a good thing. I like positivity. All right. I'm going to be back again for one more show today at 7 p.m. Central. I'll be working on starting to color the big solo piece that I was working on. It's a commission for one of my longtime clients. I'll be working on starting digital colors for it, and I'm very excited about that. So if you want to see that, I'm actually going to, it's not flatted, I'm just going to start tackling the lighting because that's the most important aspect of this piece. I'll be doing that at 7 p.m. Central. And so like and subscribe, all that good stuff, and maybe I'll see you later. Take care. Have a good night.